Hello everyone, my name is Shelby and this is the series where I reveal what is inside these mystery pottery molds I found on Gumtree. Hello and welcome back to another video of where I reveal what's inside the molds. This is mold 53. It is a larger mold. I don't know whether it's the largest one I've ever done, but it is rather heavy. It is a 3-piece mold, so a 3-part that goes together to make the mold, and it was so heavy. I was really struggling. I sped this up, but I was holding it up for ages as it slowly drained out that one tiny hole for such a big thing. I scraped off the little pouring spout gently and sort of, I guess, like etched out a little detail so that it would come away from there. Whenever I go into the hole, I only do a slight indent in the clay. I don't ever carve up the plaster, because if you carve up the plaster can go in the clay, which can mean it can contaminate it and cause nasty things to happen. So just be cautious of that if you're using your molds. I opened it up and I had to quickly cover because it's got a name. I open it up to reveal this gorgeous fish. I am so in love with it. It's so cool. I love all the detail of like how the tail fans out. It looks like it's swimming with that top fin. All the little tiny scales. It's so gorgeous. So I instantly thought this mold would be wonderful and oh so perfect for our beautiful story time book, The Rainbow Fish. It looks so much like it, and I just had the vision and I have to do it. I think I had a birdhouse early on, and people suggested doing the tiles like the magic fish, and I just knew that there was going to be a fish design in here, and I was saving that concept of the rainbow fish to do on an actual fish, and I'm so happy the molds have finally delivered. I love this book and I can't wait to bring it to life in this mold. Now, I got a little bit ahead of myself with my excitement and I forgot to show you the mold, because I know some of you look for these molds to craft yourself. So it does say 8-inch fancy goldfish. I love that name, fancy goldfish. So it's S1572, and it does have the 2 dots indicating that it's a 2-part, so there's 2 separate molds that go together. I couldn't see that number in the stack anywhere. I'm looking at this piece. I'm going to assume it's for a stand. You might have seen that shot before where I cut off that pouring spout. It kind of looks like it sort of rests on some kind of like elevated podium or something. I'm just going off of what I can see from the mold. I've got no idea. It might be another fish that goes with it, but the way it rests on the table, I can get away with not having this on a podium and just sort of having it as a fish, just standing by itself. It doesn't need a podium necessarily, because it kind of rests where that podium I think would go. I did try looking this mold up. You guys are way better researchers than I am, so if you do find the link, please feel free to comment it, and I'll pin the comment at the top of the comments. But I am just going to go for it. So with the rainbow fish, I used to call it the magic fish. I've always called it the magic fish, but it's called the rainbow fish. I don't know why I call it the magic fish. I think because it's not really rainbow, it's just blue and purples. But I went in and I added a really lovely blue, and then I just sort of layered and layered the colors up. With the scales, they are so small compared to the actual rainbow fish. So I was going to individually paint them all, and I started by doing just the pops of that hot pinky red color that the rainbow fish has. And I was going, this is going to take so long. So what I did was I mixed up an in-between blue that was really soft and pastel-y to go over the top. And then what I'm doing is painting the scales on top so that I don't have to paint all the individual scales, but I'll put in enough layering of color that it looks like they've all kind of been individually painted. It's kind of giving the illusion without all the hard work. And also because some of the scales aren't there because of where the seams were on the mold, some of the scales aren't there, and it's kind of hard to make out where they would actually go. And a lot of the scales are really small. So with the rainbow fish, it has actually really large scales. So it had me thinking about the rainbow fish, and I couldn't actually remember what it was about. I remembered that it was such a nostalgic thing growing up in an Australian primary school. It was often a feature in Book Week. It was often on display in primary school libraries, and I always remember it being read to us in primary school. But I had to go onto YouTube and listen to one of those reading book YouTubes where I listened to the story again, And if you haven't heard the story and you want to listen to it for yourself, go check it out. But here's just like my sort of brief snapshot about what the story is about, is that there's this one rainbow fish that has all these special glittery scales, which I'll add onto this fish in a minute. And all the other fish don't have these glittery scales. So it sort of causes a bit of segregation between the rainbow fish and the other fish. So the rainbow fish gets help and advice on how to be less lonely and just sort of share its beauty, and ends up giving each fish one of its beautiful scales and keeping one for itself, so that its beauty was shared with everyone in their community. And I didn't realize the deeper meaning of that and how much it sort of shapes what I do in my own life. I love sharing happiness and I love sharing joy, and I feel like that's a deeper meaning of this book, is that it's only real and it's only truly joyful when you get to share it with others. And I didn't realize how much a children's book has sort of, there's all these other things that impact your life, right? But I didn't realize how much sort of metaphors in children's books have actually impacted my life. Like when I find joy and happiness in something, I just want to share it with others and I want to feel part of a community. And it's just incredible how children's books are such an important part of childhood development in many ways. Like parenting plays a huge role in their socialization. Lots of things happen, but I think children's books are so powerful because it gives a different element of teaching a metaphor or giving kids guidance or a character to follow and pursue. Anyway, that's just a little perspective and opinion. Love this book, and here is what we're up to in the actual crafting side, if that's what you're here for. Because this is an interesting shape, what I did was I popped it on the table and saw where it actually touched the table, added some wax resist, and then dip glazed it in there. The wax resist works to resist anything on the piece, so any glaze, and it burns off in the kiln. So I popped that in the kiln, and this is like the main reveal, and it's halfway through the video because we still have to add these glittery scales like the rainbow fish to the piece. I popped it in the kiln, and I didn't realize that the weight of the tail would cause it to sort of fan out a little bit. And I noticed straight away that a part of the the part of the tail had attached to the kiln shelf, which was lucky because I have kiln wash on my shelves. Kiln wash is like a little extra powder layer that you put on your shelves to stop glaze from sticking, so it will come out like this piece has. So it just has attached to the tail. It's no dramas, you can sand it off, but it has flattened out a little bit. And I also, because I could only put one in the kiln at a time because it hasn't gone through its shrinkage yet, I can show you how much it shrinks and how much the color changes in comparison with the exact same piece. So it goes through a pretty significant shrinkage, and all different clays can go through a different rate of shrinkage. So just look up what your clay shrinkage rate is. And looking at the gloss glaze, how vibrant it makes those colors really pop. So pretty cool. Anyway, now we're up to lustering it. So I'm adding a mother of pearl luster to this piece to add that rainbow fish element. So the rainbow fish has these really glittery scales. They're like iridescent. They almost appear rainbow-like in different lightings. So the closest material I could think of that would give me this result is the mother of pearl luster. Now, just a pre-warning, I have never used this luster before. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea if I'm applying it thick enough or thin enough, or whether I'm applying it correctly. All I know is that I got a separate brush, and you saw me before, but I marked the brush as a pearl luster brush so I don't use it for anything else. And that's because this contains lead. It's poisonous. I don't want it to contaminate with any of my other brushes, and I don't want to cross-contaminate materials, so I've got a separate brush that is just for doing this. The other thing is, because I'm doing a luster firing, I need to fill the kiln up, and I need to make sure that I'm not just wasting a firing and electricity on two pieces. So the earlier reveal, if you haven't watched it yet, sorry, big spoiler, they're cow skulls. The other parts I'm going to add to the luster firing is the gold luster pieces I didn't get in the last reveal. So I'm just showing you a bit of the process of the gold lustering, and it comes out a sort of browny red color. So I'm adding all that gold luster on, and I'm putting it in the same kiln firing. Some pearl lusters from what I've read, I've never used it before. I know there's a lot of people that watch these videos that have used pearl luster and recommended it to me. The one I got fires to the same temperature as the gold luster, so that's why I can put them in the same firing. I did read up that some pearl lusters can sort of turn snotty. That was how they explained it. If you overfire, it turns snotty. But I'm just really not sure how it's all going to go. I added gold luster to all the cow skulls, even the one that didn't have any glaze on it, because I did want to see how the unglazed piece worked with the gold luster, how it looks glossy versus matte, which you'll see at the end of the video when I reveal all those. But here is, this is just me delivering on what I said I would deliver on in the last reveal, and show you that I did end up gold lustering them, and that's purely for efficiency. So the gold luster I put on is an additional firing. So luster firings work, I don't know a lot about them, but I do know that you put them on as a third firing. So you bisque, you glaze, and then you put on your luster firing, which is a low temperature, because what it does is it kind of like heats the piece up enough for the glaze to melt, so that the gold, or like whatever luster you're using, it almost like infuses into the glaze, almost like how a tattoo is injected into a skin. It sort of injects into that top layer of the glaze, so it just melts it to soften it up enough to tattoo the surface, which is pretty cool. I think really cool science. But I get really frustrated with lusters because they are very smelly. You have to have lots of safety stuff set up, and it's an additional firing. So I set my cone to 016 because this gave me a temperature of 772 degrees, and this was an intermediate between the 750 and 800 degrees that was recommended for both the gold and the pearl luster. I opened it up the next day. It took 8 hours for that firing, so a pretty quick one compared to the other firings. And to be honest, I was a little bit underwhelmed with the mother of pearl luster, but the gold luster, it never disappoints. Look how beautiful and shimmery and magical that is. It's like pure carrot. It looks amazing. But the pearl luster is like flaky and like snow, almost like dandruff. It's like it grows dandruff on the piece. But I don't know why that has happened, because I have never used it before, so I don't. Tell me in the comments what happened, because I don't know. I don't know whether it's because I put it on too thick. I don't know whether it's because I put it on too thin. Did I overfire it? Is it in a bad position in the kiln? Did I spread it around too much? Was I meant to mix the container a bit more? As I was pulling them out, I noticed that as you wiped that dusty stuff off, it still had that shimmery translucency with that like iridescence quality that I was after, but it's just not as strong as I was expecting. I absolutely love, I haven't even spoken about the mold and how much I love it. I absolutely love this mold, and I love how it turned out, and I think it really does look like the rainbow fish, but I'm just really sad because I really wanted the glitter. I really wanted that glittery, shimmery effect, and I just don't think this mother of pearl is as strong as I would have liked it to get the idea and the concept across that I was going for. You can definitely see the way it's sort of iridescent, and it does have that rainbow element, especially in that tail, because it was quite thick on the tail, which is making me think that I didn't apply it thick enough, and maybe I should have let layers like dry out and then attach more layers of the pearl onto it. I've got to play with that more, but if you have played with mother of pearl, especially that brand that I'm using, please let me know what I can do better to make it more opaque and really punchy. Anyway, here is the gold luster on the skulls. They are amazing. Seeing the difference on that matte skull on the flowering gum design was really interesting. It's quite matte. It's still very beautiful, I think. Still adds a really lovely element, but wow, the gold horns is so cool. All the designs are wonderful. There's so much potential with gold luster, and it really elevates some pieces. especially if you add it in a really subtle way that complements the design of the work. I really love it, but yeah, the additional firing can be a little bit frustrating. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning back in for another episode. I adore you all so much. Here's your sneak peek for next week. Thanks for watching and make sure to like and subscribe.